to be here. Thank you for coming. So today we will start with the Isopanishad. I think we have just the introduction and the invocation. Or how many? First, second, and third. So it's 5? Is that what we have to learn today? Or we have to do the Isopanishad? You have to do the Isopanishad. So we are switching between. We are going like this. So today I think we have introduction and invocation. I think the calendar should have it, but we can double check. But before we start, let's offer our traditional Mangalacharan prayers, and then we can start. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Yutapadakkamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Matsamo Nasti Papatma Naparadhi Chakaschana Parihare Pilajjame Kim Bhruve Purushottama Bhumau Skalita Padanam Bhumireva Valambanam Tvai Jata Paradhanam Tvameva Sharanam Prabhu Govinda Vallabhe Radhe Prarthaye Tvamaham Sada Tvadiyam Niti Janatu Govindo Mam Tvaya Saha Radha Radhita Radhesha Radhika Prana Vallabha Radha Ramana Vande Tvam Radhika Prema Nirjita. Hare Krishna. So today we are going to read the Isopanishad. Essentially, there was some debate over whether we should complete one book, which is the Nectar of Instruction, and go to other book, or weave through these two books. But weaving through these two books makes it more interesting. And the other aspect is that we can study side by side some of the concepts that are pretty much common in these particular two books. So as we read today, probably we'll get an idea. But did anybody even take a look at the calendar to see how many verses we have to cover in between now and next 2 weeks? I believe it is the invocation and the introduction, but you can double check and let me know. Pardon? Invocation. So it's a reasonably small material to cover, but there are a lot of important points that we can go through. So probably since we have the time today, we can actually read the whole introduction and invocation. Then we can go through. So starting with introduction on page 1 of Isopanishad. Teachings of the Vedas. Dandavat, is there somebody online?
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, all this to Prabhupada, this Vittal here.
Vittal, Hare Krishna. You have to maybe have to speak up tad louder.
Yeah, actually it was a request that your voice is kind of feeble. I don't know if it's just me. Is it possible to bring the mic a bit closer or something?
Okay. Is this better? Hare
Yes,
Krishna,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Yes,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare.
Thank you so much.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Okay, wonderful. So let's do the introduction today. Today we are doing the introduction and the invocation. Introduction, Teachings of the Vedas, delivered as a lecture by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on October 6, 1969 at Conway Hall, London, England. So, before we even start with this, one of the questions we ask is, it's a good question to ask, what do you know? Right? It's always a good question to ask. I know something. I know this. I know that. Whatever you can know. I know commerce. I know economics. I know politics. I know biology. But the point is, a more important question is, how do you know what you know? Whether what you know, is it correct or not? For example, a robber might say, I know the best way to rob banks. And that is knowledge. It takes a lot of expertise actually to do something like that. You need to know how to read the blueprints of the bank. You need to know how to defeat the electronic systems. You need to know the proper routes around the bank. So let's not get into the semantics of the points, but the point here I'm trying to say is a person might know how to rob a bank. But essentially, is that knowledge good enough? Or how do you define knowledge? That's the question we need to ask. And in the introduction, which I request all the devotees go through from one paragraph each, starting with Aditi. But the point here I'm trying to make is, Srila Prabhupada discusses how do we know what we know? And how do we know that knowledge is perfect? Because if you try to regress, and then it goes into an infinite loop. For example, how do we know what is the temperature in this room? We look up the thermometer. But how do we know that the thermometer is correct? Well, let's get another thermometer. But how do you, on and on it goes. So the point here is, how do we know what we know? That is a more important question that is being addressed as we discuss. So Aditi, you can start with the first paragraph and then we can go around. One paragraph each. You can take that. Okay, oh, that's working.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's subject matter is the teaching of the Vedas. What are the Vedas? The Sanskrit verbal root of Veda can be interpreted variously, but the purport is finally one. Veda means knowledge. Any knowledge you accept is Veda, for the teachings of the Vedas are the original knowledge. In the conditioned state, our knowledge is subjected to many deficiencies. The difference between a conditioned soul and a liberated soul is that the conditioned soul has 4 kinds of defects. The first defect is that he must commit mistakes. For example, in our country, Mahatma Gandhi was considered to be a very great personality. But he committed many mistakes. Even at the last stage of his life, his assistants warned, Mahatma Gandhi, don't go to the New Delhi meeting. I have some friends and I have heard there is danger. But he did not hear. He persisted in going and was killed. Even great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, President Kennedy, there are so many of them, make mistakes. To err is human. This is one defect of the conditioned soul.
Natalie?
Sorry. Another defect, to be illusioned. Illusion means to accept something which is not. Maya. Maya means what is not. Everyone is accepting the body as the self. If I ask you what you are, you will say, I am Mr. John, I am a rich man, I am this, I am that. All these are bodily identifications, but you are not this body. This is illusion.
The third defect is the cheating propensity. Everyone has the propensity to cheat others. Although a person is fool number one, he poses himself as very intelligent. Although it is already pointed out that he is in illusion and makes mistakes, he will theorize, I think this is this. But he doesn't even know his own position. He writes books of philosophy, although he is defective. That is his disease, that is cheating.
Lastly, our senses are imperfect. We are very proud of our eyes. Often someone will challenge, how can you show me God? But do you have the eyes to see God? You will never see if you haven't the eyes. If immediately the room becomes dark, you cannot even see your hands. So what power do you have to see? We cannot therefore expect knowledge, Veda, with these imperfect senses. With all these deficiencies in our conditioned life, we cannot give perfect knowledge to anyone, nor are we ourselves perfect. Therefore, we accept the Vedas as they are.
Wonderful. So here, what are the 4 defects of a conditioned soul?
Cheat.
Commit mistakes, cheat, illusion, imperfect senses. And cheating, for example, you see the news channels and then you see this going on. People say there is one incident going on, and then the TV channels, they speculate on something and they say, let's bring in quote-unquote expert, and he is supposed to say something, and that person also speculates. Maybe it was like this, maybe it was like that. The point here is that people say they are expert, but seriously speaking, what is your expertise, or where is your knowledge coming from? In fact, so much so we have quote-unquote relation experts, people who can fix your relationships. The point here is to even know who you are, leave alone like trying to reconnect to another person. On a bodily platform, sure, yeah, you have some mathematical formulas and you can bring out some things, but essentially it's just cheating. It's just going on in the name of knowledge. And then people, the other thing is, common people, they turn to quote-unquote such experts for their knowledge. In fact, it has become so, naive and gullible. People ask questions about their personal problems to film stars and to business people, and and to so many people, at least, and then they also say, yeah, it is like this. They think that because they have achieved some level of success in professional life, they have become experts on everything. How obvious can it get in terms of people being cheated, in terms of knowledge? But Srila Prabhupada says that when we are trying to get knowledge from the Vedas, it is a whole different ball game of understanding. The reason we are doing Bhakti Sastri is to gain knowledge, but more importantly, it is not the knowledge that counts, but our attitude towards knowledge. You may get vast amounts of knowledge in terms of memorizing the verses or memorizing the Sanskrit. You may be perfect in Sanskrit, you may know each word, what it means perfectly, but if you don't have that attitude of service, that attitude of humility, you will understand nothing, even though you may know everything, quote unquote everything. So if that attitude is not there, then it is difficult. But please understand that attitude doesn't call for a person to be completely having blind faith. That doesn't mean whatever, person says this is Veda, okay, I should accept it. But really, that's not the way we are looking at spiritual knowledge either. The point is, our knowledge comes from our own efforts to study and our own attitude of service, and internally within Krishna, he gives us the complete intelligence on how to identify a proper way of getting knowledge. For example, if one approaches a spiritual master, one dilemma may be, who is a spiritual master and how can I find a spiritual master? That sort of attitude, if you have to serve, then Krishna can guide you to a bona fide spiritual master based on your own sincerity. But if your attitude is that I want to be cheated, I just don't want to kind of follow anything, I want to get something for nothing, or a lot for a little. Okay, let me approach this guru. It seems he takes $50 checks. That's very good. He gives me a mantra. I can become perfect. I can conquer over my enemies. I can become successful in business. I can get my love life straightened out. My kids will everything listen to me. This attitude of mentality is just cheating way of doing things. And then because you have that attitude, Krishna will or through your own gullibility will send you a person who's going to cheat you. So at least the basic idea is that everybody should be familiar with Vedas and Vedic knowledge so that you can evaluate who's a genuine person versus who's not. So what we know and how we know, these are some of the things. Why does Srila Prabhupada point out these four defects is because the way we have been gaining knowledge, that is not perfect. Because when a person says, I'll accept only if I can prove it correct, which is the common denomination in in scientific world, doesn't apply when it comes to spiritual matters. Make sense? All right, wonderful. So, any questions or comments? All right, Gunjan, please go ahead. The 5th paragraph.
You may call the Vedas Hindu, but Hindu is a foreign name. We are not Hindus. Our real identification is Varnashram. Varnashram denotes the followers of the Vedas, those who accept the human society in 8 divisions of Varna and Ashram. There are 4 divisions of society and 4 divisions of spiritual life. This is called Varnashram. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.13, these divisions are everywhere because they are created by God. The divisions of society are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Brahmana refers to the very intelligent class of men, those who know what is Brahman. Similarly, the Kshatriyas, the administrator group, are the next intelligent class of men. Then the Vaishyas, the mercantile group. These natural classifications are found everywhere. This is the Vedic principle and we accept it. Vedic principles are accepted as axiomatic truth, for there cannot be any mistake. That is acceptance. For instance, in India, cow dung is accepted as pure, and yet cow dung is the stool of an animal. In one place, you will find the Vedic injunction that if you touch stool, you have to take bath immediately. But in another place, it is said that the stool of a cow is pure. If you smear cow dung in an impure place, the place becomes pure. Without our ordinary sense, we can argue this is contradictory. Actually, it is contradictory from the ordinary point of view, but it is not false. It is fact. In Calcutta, a very prominent scientist and doctor analyzed cow dung and found that it contains all antiseptic properties.
Okay, Avantika, you can read one more paragraph. No, okay, please go ahead.
In India, if one person tells another, "You must do this," the other party may say, "What do you mean? Is this a Vedic injunction that I have to follow you without any argument?" Vedic injunctions cannot be interpreted. But ultimately, if you carefully study why these injunctions are here, you will find that they are all correct.
Okay, I want to think about, read one more paragraph.
The Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name for the Vedas is Shruti. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It is not experimental knowledge. Shruti is considered to be like a mother. We take so much knowledge from our mother. For example, if you want to know who your father is, who can answer you? Your mother. If the mother says, "Here is your father," you have to accept it. It is not possible to experiment to find out whether he is your father. Similarly, if you want to know something beyond your experience, beyond your experimental knowledge, beyond the activities of the senses, then you have to accept the Vedas. There is no question of experimenting. It has already been experimented. It is already settled. The version of the mother, for instance, has to be accepted as truth. There is no other way.
So the Vedic knowledge, or the Vedas, they are a little different from how you understand. What is the difference? That you don't experiment as far as Vedic knowledge goes, and they are accepted as axiomatic truth. The other name for the Vedas is called what? Shruti. Thank you, Shruti. What does Shruti means? Hearing, knowledge acquired by hearing. So previously, in the previous ages, the people were so sharp that they would actually listen once to their spiritual master and they would understand it. There was no notebooks or iPads or computers or laptops or printers or graffiti on the walls, whatever you want. There were no walls to have a graffiti in the first place. What else did we learn in these two paragraphs? That's of particular interesting thing. You don't argue with the Vedas because, and then even the contradictions are there, they may seem okay. Because sometimes we have a lot of these questions, well, that's mentioned there something and that's mentioned there something opposite. And if something comes across to our logic and our intellect that they are contradictory, which means that this book is bogus. But, the Vedic truths can be existing in a harmonious way, with no apparent contradiction, or without, you can say, illogical way. That's the word to use. There is complete logic. And the example given is cow dung. And then that's a fact. People have been using, in India, people have been using it for many generations. And they just swear by it. In fact, growing up, my grandfather, he was a farmer, and they had a house in the village. So every day where they would collect the cow dung, they would put it in a bucket, and they would dilute it with water, and then they would spray all in front of the house. And the mosquitoes wouldn't come at night. We could feel it. There were mosquitoes all around in the swamp. They wouldn't come into the house. Yeah.
I just want to mention something. Probably may I?
Please.
Well, no, in America, though, they use...
You need to use the mic, though. People are there online. So people are eager to hear your voice.
Facial creams in America, they use something called urea, R-U-R-E-A, and it's from the cow. It's cow urine in creams, and it's good for the skin.
Nice.
And then also, some dermatologists, if you get foot fungus on your feet, they say when you're taking a shower, if you urinate and let get it exposed to your urine, it helps the foot fungus. Not that I have that or anything like, but I read that and it's so there's something with this urine. You know what I mean? It's antiseptic.
I don't know about all the urines per se, but anyways.
But no, the cow is the best.
Sure,
of course.
Sure, I agree.
It's in the Vedas.
I agree.
We don't know, but anyways.
Nice, I agree. Wonderful. Yeah. Any other questions, or we just? The other thing I wanted to add is this Vedas are considered to be like what? Who is the father? Krishna. Krishna. So, Mother Vedas is trying to point the father as Krishna. And Krishna says in the 15th chapter, 15th verse, Vedaischa sarve ahameva vedyo. Means through all the Vedas, I am to be known. So, Vedas are like mother and Krishna is the father. So, when we take shelter of the Vedas, then we can know Krishna. And one question people might ask, one question people will ask is, why only mother should tell me? There are paternity DNA tests nowadays. And then we can use that to find my father. Yeah, sure, but there are 7 billion people on this planet, and unless your mother truly points out the location, specific geographical location, it's impossible. And besides, you get to even if you assume it's a 50-50 ratio, so there are 3.5 billion males, out of which, assuming that there are only 1.5 billion males who are eligible in that category, by the time you get to 1.4999999, he might die. So you will never get a truth, unless your mother tells you who the father is. Just wanted to add that fact. Because Srila Prabhupada spoke this in 1969, which is almost 45 years ago, when there were no DNA tests. DNA tests are the relatively latest. Because when I was reading this, DNA tests, I said, that doesn't work too either. So unless your mother tells you who your father is, there's no way you can find out who your father is. Even modern technology notwithstanding. Right? Other things we glean from this. Today we just have introduction and invocation, so at least we can delve into how to read Srila Prabhupada's books in terms of, trying to assimilate, trying to see what Srila Prabhupada has written and then try to digest it. And if you can see, Srila Prabhupada starts off with the 4 defects, telling or emphasizing the point, we cannot get the knowledge on our own because our senses are imperfect and conditioned, and we are in the conditioned state, we cannot get to know. And the other point he makes is that, our senses are imperfect, and Srila Prabhupada says that you can't see something in dark. How many people have actually experienced pitch darkness? Total darkness. Where did you experience that?
There's a cell at Alcatraz.
There is a cell at Alcatraz.
Yeah, a cell, a solitary confinement. They let you go in when you go on the tour. You shut the door and it's pitch black.
Wow.
Just a hole in the ground.
Wow. Avantika, where did you experience it? When you close your eyes. Nice. But the problem is, when you close your eyes, you can still see, and then you can open the eyes, you see the hand. But where did you? Huh? Ashram. Oh. All right. I actually, because I didn't experience it until very recently. So my parents visited a couple of years ago, and then we took them to the caverns, which are like they're 3-4 hours drive from here, somewhere. Yeah, no, not the Hollister. It's north. Yeah, no, it's north, close Sacramento area, California caverns. I don't know where they are.
Oh,
Yeah. So we were going there. The pathway was lighted, and then at one point the guide said, "Okay, I'll turn off the lights." And then she turned off the lights. You could see nothing. Your own hand, right 3 inches in front of your hand, you couldn't see it. Your hand was right 3 inches in front of my. I really said, because I remembered this. We can't see anything. I tried to bring my hand as close as I could to my eyes. I still couldn't see my hand. It was right there. So my point here is that if you cannot see your own hand 3 inches from your face with no light, how can you see Krishna? How can you actually understand Krishna unless one has the knowledge coming from Vedas? But please understand, Vedas or the Vedic knowledge is huge. We'll read a little bit later. I'll go give you a brief overview of what we are dealing here. When we are trying to get the spiritual knowledge, what we are trying to do is something which we'll go over probably at the end of this section. So please go ahead. One paragraph.
The Vedas are considered to be the mother, and Brahma is called the grandfather, the forefather. because he was the first to be instructed in the Vedic knowledge. In the beginning, the first living creature was Brahma. He received this Vedic knowledge and imparted it to Narada and other disciples and sons, and they also distributed it to their disciples. In this way, the Vedic knowledge comes down by disciplic succession. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that Vedic knowledge is understood in this way. If you make experimental endeavor, you come to the same conclusion. But just to save time, you should accept. If you want to know who your father is and you accept your mother as the authority, then whatever she says can be accepted without argument. There are three kinds of evidence: Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. Pratyaksha means direct evidence. Direct evidence is not very good because our senses are not perfect. We are seeing the sun daily and it appears to us just like a small disk, but it is actually far, far larger than many planets. Of what value is this seen? Therefore, we have to read books. Then we can understand about the sun. So direct experience is not perfect. Then there is Anumana, inductive knowledge. It may be like this, hypothesis. For instance, Darwin's theory says it may be like this, it may be like that. But that is not science. That is a suggestion, and it is also not perfect. But if you receive the knowledge from the authoritative sources, that is perfect. If you receive a program guide from the radio station authorities, you accept it. You don't deny it. You don't have to make an experiment because it is received from the authoritative sources.
So, just to add to Darwin's comment by Srila Prabhupada, Darwin at the outset, when he introduces his theory, he says, this is my hypothesis. He clearly says it. This is what there have been many subsequent scientists who kind of made it to sound like a real truth, but in fact, Darwin said, this is what I hypothesize based on what my studies are. And it's a fact. How can you go back actually to exactly say that this is what happened? There is no way to prove it. It's me saying that 1,000 years ago, robbers looted a city. Okay? How can you prove? There's no way you can prove. Oh, well, it may have happened. I saw some stones there that were turned upside down a little bit here, and there was something here. But the point is, everything you are basing it just based on circumstantial evidence and linking it to the past. And there is no way that has happened that way. There could be X number of reasons on why that particular phenomena which we are observing today has happened in the past. But in any case, just... So how many types? Yes, Avantika. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so it said earlier you were saying how the Vedas are the mother and then Krishna is the father, and then it said how Brahma is the grandfather. How does that make sense? Because according to the Parampara, wasn't Krishna first, then Brahma? So
Right. Nice, excellent question. So when it is said Vedas is the father, which means Vedas is showing the way to Krishna, but Krishna actually gave the knowledge of the Vedas to Brahma. Now, Srila Prabhupada further he says is that when you come to the, what is that? Pratyaksha, Anumana and Shabda. So in the Pratyaksha, it is said that you can do direct research. Okay, this is where I ask, who is my father? Okay, my father is there. My father's father. Okay. So in that way, if you inductively go on, then you come up to Brahma, who is the grandfather of this whole universe. But please understand that Brahma actually comes from Krishna. So there is no way that Brahma can become the father of Krishna. It's the other way around. So the whole idea is that the inductive process of knowing God can go only reach up to Brahma. Beyond that, you cannot. So that perspective it is mentioned. Make sense?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay. Yeah. Brahma is called the grandfather, but trust me, Krishna is the father of the grandfather. Great grandfather. Yes, go ahead.
The Vedic knowledge is called Shabd Parmana. Another name is Shruti. Shruti means that this knowledge has to be received simply by oral reception. The Vedas instruct that in order to understand transcendental knowledge, we need to hear this from authority. Transcendental knowledge is a knowledge from beyond this universe. Within this universe is material knowledge, and beyond this universe is transcendental knowledge. We cannot even go to the end of the universe. So, how can we go to the spiritual world? Thus, to acquire full knowledge is impossible.
Thank you.
There is spiritual sky, there is another nature, which is beyond manifestation and non-manifestation. But how will you know that there is a sky where the planets and inhabitants are eternal? All this knowledge is there, but how will you make experiments? It is not possible. Therefore, you have to take the assistance of the Vedas. This is called Vedic knowledge. In our Krishna conscious movement, we are accepting knowledge from the highest authority, Krishna. Krishna is accepted as the highest authority by all classes of men. I am speaking first of the two classes of transcendentalists. One class of transcendentalists is called impersonalistic, Mayavadi. They are generally known as Vedantists, led by Shankaracharya. And there is another class of transcendentalists called Vaishnavas, like Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Vishnu Swami. Both the Shankara Sampradaya and the Vaishnava Sampradaya have accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shankaracharya is supposed to be an impersonalist who preached impersonalism, impersonal Brahman, but it is a fact that he is a covered personalist. In his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote, Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond this cosmic manifestation. And then again he confirmed that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, is Krishna. He has come as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. He particularly mentioned the names of his father and mother. So Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by all transcendentalists. There is no doubt about it. Our source of knowledge in Krishna consciousness is the Bhagavad Gita, which comes directly from Krishna. We have published the Bhagavad Gita as it is because we accept Krishna as he is speaking, without any interpretation. That is Vedic knowledge. Since the Vedic knowledge is pure, we accept it. Whatever Krishna says, we accept. This is Krishna consciousness. That saves much time. If you accept the right authority or source of knowledge, then you save much time. For example, there are two systems of knowledge in the material world, inductive and deductive. From deductive, you accept that man is mortal. Your father says man is mortal, your sister says man is mortal, everyone says man is mortal. But you do not experiment. You accept it as a fact that man is mortal. If you want to research to find out whether man is mortal, you have to study each and every man, and you may come to think that there may be some man who is not dying, but you have not seen him yet. So in this way, your research will never be finished. In Sanskrit, this process is called aroha, the ascending process. If you want to attain knowledge by any personal endeavor, by exercising your imperfect senses, you will never come to the right conclusions. That is not possible.
Okay. So how many classes of transcendentalists are there?
Two.
Who are those?
The impersonalist and the
Personalists. Wonderful. And do they have disagreement? Impersonalists think that that Shiva is God, and personalists think that Krishna is God. Okay, it's there actually. It's Shankaracharya in his song Bhaja Govindam. He says Krishna is the supreme, and then what is the source of our knowledge in Krishna consciousness? Bhagavad Gita. And then we are going to do Bhagavad Gita in the next 2 semesters. I don't know if some of the devotees must have already done. But in any case, we are going to do, next 2 semesters we are going to devote to Bhagavad Gita. What else did we learn from this particular? What is the ascending process? Sanskrit name for ascending process? Aroha. And then what is the descending process? Avaroha. Thank you. So are we in the process of Aroha or Avaroha? Avaroha is better, I agree. Why? It will save much time. Otherwise, it will just your mind will just explode with the amount of research you need to do. It's not possible. So, what is the theme? Is this theme continuing from the previous paragraphs, or is it a different theme Srila Prabhupada has introduced in this paragraph? Nice, nice, nice. Yes. And then the deductive and the inductive process. The other point on a humorous side, yes, Kalyan, I'll take here. I'll just let me complete this chain of thought. From deductive, you accept that that man is mortal. Your father says man is mortal, your sister says man is mortal, everyone says man is mortal. But you do not experiment. Fortunately not. Better. Because if you experiment, then you realize firsthand that you are also mortal. The government will make sure that you are also, if you feel you are mortal. Any other? It's okay, Avantika, if you don't get the joke, I'll tell you later.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Radha Venkat from Folsom.
Hari Bol, Radha Venkat Prabhu.
There are 17 viewers on the call. So if somebody is answering question or asking question, ask them to use the microphone so we all can also enjoy what's going on.
Okay, definitely. So you heard the Prabhu from Folsom. So let's get very conscious about using the microphone, because there are 17 viewers who want to listen to your voice. And why deny them of that? Other questions, other comments? So, first Kalyan, then it will go to Ashish, and then it will go to Gunjan.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Here in the paragraph, we see that it is mentioned like Vedic knowledge is transcendental knowledge, and the material knowledge, or the knowledge which we get from this world, is material. It hasn't come from a different universe. So my point is in Vedic knowledge also we see like there are different branches like Mimamsa, Nyaya, Tarka,
right.
And different very scholarly persons, they wrote different books about them. And those are also practiced while learning those knowledge. So those knowledge, I think they to my understanding, they had their own ideas. And somehow or other, those ideas are accepted by people who studied or who, were taught under them. Like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was the authority of Nyaya Tarka. He had books. So how will you consider them as the part of Vedic knowledge? Or,
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent question. Thank you. So for the viewers online who didn't get the question, was that Vedas, you are saying that Vedas are transcendental knowledge or spiritual knowledge, but Vedas incorporate knowledge which are of the material world. And that is true, because Vedas, actually the word Veda means to know, and to know both material and spiritual. In fact, Vedic knowledge actually encompasses everything, right from arts, music, medicine, warfare, politics, astrology, astronomy, you name it, it's there in Vedas. Right now, please understand that the whole Vedas or the books of Vedas, they are not there. The entire Vedic knowledge right now is not there over a period of time, but Vedas were supposed to incorporate everything. The reason Vedic knowledge was considered Shabda Praman was that Vedas were meant for material prosperity and spiritual satisfaction, both. So because of that, at least when you accept Vedas, you are accepting the word of God and performing your duties on this world. For example, in the warfare, it was clear from the Vedic injunctions that there were certain rules for wars. That the war would happen only during daytime, and if the soldier was unarmed, you couldn't kill him. Soldier surrendered, you couldn't kill him. If the soldiers were sleeping, you couldn't kill him. There were so many restrictions. If he was mad, you couldn't kill him. There are so many injunctions. And when people followed those injunctions, at least they were true and they were not entangling themselves in degrading themselves in karmic activities, like modern soldiers. Modern soldiers, because they have no set of these rules, they have to fight 5-6 days at a time with no sleep. And because they know if they sleep, they will be killed. In the previous times, especially in Mahabharata, you can see who were the two soldiers, or two sides, Avantika, who fought in Mahabharata. Let her answer. Kauravas and Pandavas. Thank you. So they fought to death during daytime. They wouldn't spare any effort to kill each other. But in the evening, they were friends. They were not going to harm each other. They were not going to go sneak into each other's camps and kill people. They could at least peacefully sleep at night during war. Right in the middle of war, at least that portion, they could be peacefully sleeping. The modern soldiers don't even have that luxury. If you are in the enemy territory, there is no sleep. You just get by with 1-2 hours of sleep. No wonder the soldiers who are coming from the battlefield are so messed up. Because it is inhuman, it's beyond the human strength to fight like that, at least in the Kali Yuga. So at least the Vedas had that kind of, you can say, injunctions, even from the material world, to at least materially you could be alive and healthy during a war. So at least that, otherwise, please understand, in the modern society is going more and more and more insane because they don't have this adherence to Vedas. Intoxicating herbs like marijuana and all that, legalize. Really? Really? I mean, like, same gender marriage, yes, I need votes. Otherwise people will throw me out of office. Go. But if you had a Kshatriya who would be dharmic, they had the power to check because they had adherence to Vedas. So Vedas encompassed everything, and by following that, at least you would have a progressive destination. With the modern leaders, they are degrading themselves and they are degrading the population just in the name of quote-unquote good governance. Seriously, I mean, like I was stunned. Now what tomorrow people will say, legalize every dangerous drug on the planet. Actually, one country has done it. Portugal. Please look it up. Portugal is the only country in the world where every most dangerous drug is legal. You can buy it off the counter in any store, or there are some restrictions. It's there. Abortion, please, it's okay. It's your body. Yeah, right, you're going to hell. The point here is that without adherence to Vedas, which gave a proper dharmic structure, so that anybody in any varna or ashram could follow the Vedic injunctions and progressively go back to Godhead, they're just going back and back. So in that sense, at least the reason being that if you argue with Vedas, then you are getting degraded. So that's the reason the Lord gave both. He says this and this. In fact, in the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says that at the beginning, I created the demigods and the men, and I created the system of sacrifice so that people who would perform the sacrifice and they could get grains and they could live happily. So God was not just, okay, I'll put everybody in this prison called material world and I'll give them only transcendental knowledge, no food to survive. No, he said, I'll give you food, but this is a prescribed way how you eat your food or get your food so that you can progressively go. So Vedas incorporated both. But unfortunately, with no adherence to Vedas, it's a very risky situation. The more and more I see people getting money, the more and more they are doing degraded things just to be happy without having any connection to Vedas, any connection to sort of spiritual advancement. So it's very dangerous, actually. A little bit answers your question? Yeah, sorry for the long answer, but because in 3rd chapter, we go extensively, Krishna talks about it. Krishna says that, people need food grains to subsist. Food grains comes from rain. In California, we are pretty much getting seriously aware of that fact. You really can't eat your latest computer code and survive. Or can you get the latest chips, and then fry them in oil and eat? Unless they are potato chips. Computer chips, yeah, still tough. Even potato chips, you can't survive for long, it's a serious problem. But in any case, the point here is that grains come from rains, and Krishna says rain comes from prescribed duties. And prescribed duties come from Vedas. So there is a connection right there to keep, so that at least there is a structure to go upwards. Otherwise, it's very risky. After now the California, because of the drought, and now everybody is saying, please, no religion denomination. This is a common problem affecting everybody. Everybody, mosques, please pray. Temples, please pray. Churches, please pray. Now we remember God. Otherwise, I'm happy with my computer code and Xbox games and my life. It's all set. Yes, does it a little bit? Yeah. Yes, Ashish and then Gunjan.
Prabhu, my question is in reference to the 4 defects. And if you really apply the deductive process, you will see that to err and to cheat is really because you have imperfect senses, right? So actually there are 2 defects, right? To basically illusory nature and then the imperfect senses, right? So the bigger point was like, that's just like a simple analysis you do, you see that, right? So there must be a bigger thought process in the way this condition, the properties of the conditioned soul has been structured, right? And like if you just flip the other way around, like you say unconditioned soul, then would this whole we just negate all these 4 properties in the other way around, and then that's the property of the condition. That's not the way to define them, but like I'm just kind of elaborating the question to have like your insights.
Ashish, I freely admit that I'm not from Stanford and my intelligence is not as sharp as yours. So if you can kindly repeat that question, I really didn't get it. My apologies.
Sorry, what I was saying is that like the 4 defects you mentioned, like, so if you just apply deductive reasoning, you can see that like because of imperfect senses, you err, right? Because that's
correct.
The reason. And because of imperfect senses, you have a tendency to cheat also.
Correct.
So in reality, there are actually 2 defects only.
I see. I see what you mean.
Yeah. So hence he has stated 4 defects. So there must be, and hence I think that there must be another reason which I am not comprehending.
I see.
And
I see.
Then I'm thinking like, one of the thoughts I'm thinking is that, if you just like argue that like this is the property of a conditioned soul, right? So think of an unconditioned soul. And what are their defects? Like if you try to classify their properties, so there might be like they don't err, or they are never illusioned, and they never cheat, and then they have perfect senses, right?
I see what you mean.
I don't know the answer, but I'm just trying to kind of probe into the answer.
So if I understand you right, you are trying to synthesize these 4 defects probably into 2 because they are pretty much related to each other.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, actually there are 2 of them, but like, so there must be a reason to classify them into 4, right?
The 2 are that you are conditioned and then you have a tendency to cheat?
The 2 are they are illusioned.
Okay.
And then they are having imperfect senses. And
right.
Hence, they have tendency to cheat, and hence they have tendency to err, right?
Well, please understand that the Lord is unconditional at all times. He is not conditioned in any stage, under any circumstances, at any point of time. That is God or Krishna. The Jiva soul, even though unconditioned, has a tendency to fall. Jiva is called Kshara, means that there is a tendency for the Jiva to fall. So even in the unconditioned state, if the Jiva is not careful, there could be a chance that he or she might fall down into this world. Now, in the conditioned state, those 4 defects are prominent. And sometimes a person may not have the tendency to cheat, yet they are illusioned. I'm a good person, I haven't cheated anybody. Who are you, sir? I am American. See? The tendency to cheat is not there, but the illusion is there. I am an American. So what do you do as an American? I hold the flag. So that's where the imperfect senses come in. Because you are using the senses in a wrong way. And then how do you err? Yeah, there are a number of ways. I don't want to get into it. But in general, while there may be a synthesis or a correlation, but it's not necessarily just exclusive. Or they are like, you can't combine them in a strict sense. And you know what? These 4 defects are not given by Srila Prabhupada. They are written in the Vedas. It is there in Shloka book. If you can look it up, this is not Srila Prabhupada says. He is quoting from the Vedas to say that these are the 4 classifications of the conditioned soul. So, we can look it up in the Shloka book later. So, Avantika is already looking up. Good. Get me and get yourself, and you can do the research work. We'll look up that particular Shloka. It's not something which is said by Prabhupada. So, let's look it up. Later, probably, I'll bring it up. But that's a wonderful point. Thank you. Thank you for highlighting that. It's like questioning the question is excellent. Anyway, if somebody has time, they can look it up in the Shloka book. We'll have time. Yeah, here, Kalyan can. Gunjan and then Prashant? Or you have something to add to that?
Yeah, same thing. So, on the same lines, right, I had a confusion and I just asked Vaisheshika Prabhu, if I have your permission, I just want to quote what he said. So, my question was, we are conditioned soul, right? And conditioned soul has all these imperfections that, Prabhu mentioned. The goal is to become unconditioned, right? So, he said, don't think in that angle. Surrender to the God and everything will become unconditional. So that's what he said.
Nice.
We should not think in terms of, how do I become unconditional? All. But if you surrender to the Lord, everything becomes unconditional. That's
nice.
That's what his explanation. So I think it was very nice.
And just to add to your point, everything becomes unconditioned permanently. Excellent. Thank you. This is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Brahma pramada vipralipsha karna patava arsha vijnavakya nahi dosha ishava. Mistakes, illusions, cheating and defective perception do not occur in the saying of authoritative sages. This is from CC Adi 286, Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, 2nd chapter, 86th verse. And I'm sure that there must be there will be some reference from the Vedas which actually say this. Oh, this is page 294 from the Shloka book. 294. Thank you. So it's therefore we accept it. Yes, and then but if you analyze it in a careful way, then we can see that because this is one thing, Ashish, is that people say being good is good. That's all you need. But the fact is that's not true. Just being good is not enough to be what you are. Being a God-realized person is what you are looking for. Being on a spiritual platform, right? Yeah. Gunjan, go ahead with your question, and then Michael had a kind of question or a comment or a doubt or... Yeah, after this, and then actually we'll take the question. It's a question time. We'll do that. Gunjan, he raised his hand. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, Prabhuji, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Veda is Shabda Praman and Veda is Shruti. Are they interdependent? Is it Shabda Praman because it is Shruti or the other way around?
The nature of Vedas is Shruti. And when you put forth as a source of knowledge, it becomes Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman means proof. Praman means in Sanskrit proof. When you say, give me proof, then I say, this is sound proof, and that is from the Vedas. And when I put forth like that, then it becomes authoritative. So Shruti is the nature of Vedas, and when you put that nature or the Vedic conclusions as a content or as a subject matter, then it becomes Shabda Praman. You're saying what you're saying. Where do you say that? Well, it's there in Vedas. That is my Praman, that's my proof. Because every time you go to a court, the judge says, okay, show me the proof that this particular thing is done. How do you prove that? So in some cases, the acharyas say that let's not deal with these kind of proofs, relative proofs. Laghu Bhagavatamrita is a book written by Srila Rupa Goswami. And he says there are many types of proofs. I'm not going to kind of work with those things. I'm just going to work with Shabda Praman, simple proof. I'm going to quote Bhagavatam, I'm going to quote authoritative acharyas, and that's my proof. And I'm not going to, argue or debate or logic, everything. Jiva Goswami was very fond of that. So if you want to really get into the logic part, Jiva Goswami would present an argument and present counter-argument, but in that way it was nice. For those who really want to kind of get into those, then at least I would recommend read Tattva Sandarbha. His Grace, our late Gopi Parandan Prabhu, he wrote the book on Tattva Sandarbha. And then, how he systematically proves Shabda Praman, and from Shabda Praman, which is the highest Praman. And he establishes that Bhagavatam is the highest Praman. So it's a beautiful work if you want to go that back and forth. So there are many ways of proving stuff. I prove through logic, I prove to this, I prove to that. But Acharya says Shabda Praman. This is my proof. Yes. Rajeshji.
Prabhuji, just wanted to add to your earlier discussion, sorry, I just thought it is relevant. When Mahabharata, they used to fight in the daytime, in the night, they used to actually visit their, opposite parties' shiver. I mean, what level of consciousness they must be living, like on the daytime you are ready to kill and suddenly you switch your mind and you are compassionate to, they just take care about what happened and in fact participate in the last rites. It just bewildered the mind, like at the time, you could switch your consciousness, so much control they have in what they are supposed to be doing versus where we carry forward all our grudges for lifetime,
Right.
This is amazing to even watch that, it elevates our consciousness a little bit, that one day we could be like that.
Correct. And at least, the basic bottom line was that you are not this body and you are a spirit soul. And then you had that basic knowledge that I have to follow this particular Vedic injunctions and dharma, otherwise I'll be degraded. When that fear is not there and you see this life is all in all and this life is where I'm going to go, then you have not seen your past lives, you are not seeing how your future is heading. You are just like in a base bodily platform. At least, that's why Krishna says, at least one should know one is a spirit soul. Then so many anomalies will be taken care of in this world. Let me give a chance to the online devotees if they want to ask questions or any comments, any suggestions. Yeah, you can use any criticism also. You can throw baseball and all that. Ha ha ha, I don't need to worry. That's only for the online people, please. I didn't wear my protective gear today, so please limit it to words. Yes, online devotees, Hare Krishna. Any comments, any questions? You have to press...
Just online, press star 6 to unmute, ask your question, and then you can press star 6 to mute yourself.
Thank you, Radha Prabhu. As he said, you press star 6 to unmute and star 6 to mute. All right, thank you very much. For those who are online, because I can't see your hand being raised, so it's okay. You can interrupt the class as I am speaking, and then you can ask any question if you think it's to be urgently resolved. So, all right. So, what do you want to do now? Take a little break. 5-minute break. Okay, sounds good. Let's see. It's now 3:14. We meet at 3:20, 3:20, 6-minute break. Okay, I can also chant my Gayatri in the meanwhile. So for those who are online, Hare Krishna, we are just going to take about 6-minute break. Sharp back at 3:20, and we'll continue this. Thank you. This break is needed, right? Usually it's needed, right? Vaishya, Shudra. Sorry, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmana can be the brahmachari. Shudras were not allowed. And yes, everybody would be in there. Sannyas also, for example, Dhritarashtra and Pandavas, they lived in forest. They perfected their lives. So they became vanaprasthas. They clearly became vanaprasthas. And usually Brahmanas were the one who did that. Sannyas was the lowest one.
Well, there's a restaurant.
Hare Krishna. No, this is a book which is commentaries by Madhvacharya, and this is a different book. I think it's there from Krishna.com or other places. Sure. Yeah, we can start now. Thank you. So, in the interest of time, we'll try to wrap this up so that we can go for the invocation. We'll read a little bit about. I'll read through a little bit about the Vedic literature. We'll go on page 9 for those who are online. We are going to read introduction on page 9. You can read the rest at home. So we'll just quickly go through that. First paragraph on page 9. Originally there was only one Veda and there was no necessity of reading it. People were so intelligent and had such sharp memories that by once hearing from the lips of the spiritual master, they would understand. They would immediately grasp the whole purport. But 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva put the Vedas in writing for the people in this age, Kali Yuga. He knew that eventually people would be short-lived, their memories would be poor, and their intelligence would not be sharp. Therefore, let me teach this Vedic knowledge in writing. He divided the Vedas into 4, Rig, Sama, Atharva, and Yajur. He then gave charge of these Vedas to his different disciples. He then thought of the less intelligent class of men, Stri, Shudra, and Dvijabandhu. He considered the women class and Shudra class, Burger class, and Dvijabandhu. Dvijabandhu refers to those who are born in a high family but who are not properly qualified. A man who is born in the family of a Brahmana but is not qualified as a Brahmana is called Dvijabandhu. For these persons, he compiled Mahabharata, called the history of the India, and the 18 Puranas. These are all part of the Vedic literature. The Puranas, the Mahabharata, the 4 Vedas, the Upanishads. The Upanishads are part of the Vedas. Then Vyasadeva summarized all Vedic knowledge for scholars and philosophers in what is called the Vedanta Sutra. This is the last word of the Vedas. So here, in this particular paragraph, the whole broad summary of the Vedic knowledge is mentioned. So originally Veda was 1, and into how many did Vyasadeva divide it? 4. What are those? Yajurveda. Good. So Sama is, for music, Vedas of music. Rig, if for those who are interested in the Hidden Glory of India, this book, there on the first page it's called the Vedic Literature, and on the right side there is a bracket there. If you want to go read into it a little bit more, it is there. So before that, the Vedas, are they Shruti or Smriti? What is the difference between Shruti and Smriti? Okay. Right. So, my apologies. So, there are 2 divisions of Vedic literature. One is called the Shruti and one is called the Smriti. So Shruti means the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the corollaries of the Vedas. They are called Shruti. And Smriti means which is traditional or heard. Now, for example, any literature which is in pursuance of the Vedic knowledge, it is called Smriti. So all the writings, for example, the Puranas, they are called Smriti. And the Itihasas, for example, Mahabharata is a Itihasa, it's called Smriti. There are Shrutis and Smritis. So, and then the other category of the Vedic literature is called the Sutras. The Vedanta Sutra is a sutra as we read. So Srila Vyasadeva, he summarized all the Vedic knowledge into aphorisms, and that are called Vedanta Sutra. Now Vedanta Sutras are extremely compressed one-liners which tell about absolute truth. In fact, if you see the Shloka book, there are few Vedanta Sutras here. Let's not spend a lot of time on it, but you can look up here. For example, there is a Vedanta Sutra called Janmadyasyaha. The first Vedanta Sutra is called that. Where are we? Vedanta Sutra. Yeah. So Vedanta Sutra, the 111 is called Om Athato Brahma Jigyasa. The second one is Om Janmadyasyaha. That's it. The three words in the sutra. Whole sutra is 3 words. Janmadi Yasyaha, which means from whom everything comes. But does that particular line ring a bell? The first verse of the first chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam starts with Om Namo Bhagavate. But what does it start with? The Janmadyasyaha yatonvayati taradas charteshva vignasvarat. So that Janmadyasyaha, which is the Vedanta Sutra, Srila Vyasadeva wrote a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, and the natural commentary of Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. It is said of Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll give a quick, it is called Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnaya Gayatri Bhashya Ruposo Vedartha Paribrimhita. So the Bhagavatam has 4 special characteristics. That Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam, the Vedanta Sutra, Vyasa Sutra and Brahma Sutra, they are one and the same, no confusion. They are written by Vyasadeva. So the Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam means Bhagavatam gives the meaning of Vedanta Sutras. So Vyasadeva not only wrote the sutras, but he gave a commentary on the sutras called, that might, who knows, come in the exam. Hare Krishna. So he gave a natural commentary on Vedanta Sutras called Bhagavatam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam. Brahma Sutra's meaning is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharat Artha Vinirnaya. The decisive meaning or purport or conclusion of Mahabharata is also given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharat Artha Vinirnaya Gayatri Bhashya Ruposo. Means that the meaning of Gayatri mantra is also given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is Vedartha Paribrimhita. Paribrimhita means overflowing. Veda Artha means the knowledge or the meaning of Vedas. So when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's a 4-in-1 deal right there. You are knowing about Vedanta Sutra, you are knowing about Gayatri, you are knowing about Vedas, and you are knowing about Mahabharata straight. Because that same verse, Janmadhyasya yatonvayat itaratas chateshu abhinyaswarat tene brahma hridayadi kave muhyanti yat suryaha tejovari mridam yatrat trisharga vinimayam rusha. That's kind of dhamna svena sada virasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. And that dhimahi is from the Gayatri mantra. Om bhurvat swaha, Om tatsaviturvarenyam, Bhargo devasya dhimahi. So that artha or the meaning of Gayatri is also given in Srimad Bhagavatam. And if you see the last verse of the last canto of the last chapter, it ends with dhimahi. So the whole Gayatri mantra is properly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Which section explains what? Gayatri mantra is there in the first verse itself. Starts with dhimahi, ends with dhimahi, and so whole of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in places they are given the mantras. So the Vedanta Sutra, Srila Prabhupada writes in the same paragraph that many authors have written commentaries on Vedanta Sutra. Shankaracharya wrote a commentary called Sharira Ka Bhashya, and then Vaishnava Acharya, who is Baldev Vidyabhushan, he wrote called Govinda Bhashya. So many authors have commented on the Vedanta Sutra, and we have the natural commentary from Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva himself, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is what, in essence, the next chapter covers, or next paragraph covers. Let's see what else is there. Yes, sir. 1 minute. Let me just complete this introduction, and then I'll take some questions. So the whole of... so the last word is, let's read on page 11 of the introduction. The last 6-7 lines maybe. Everybody there, the whole summary? Yeah, you just want the whole summary, right? The whole summary of Vedic knowledge is the Vedanta Sutra, and Vedanta Sutra is explained by the writer himself in Srimad Bhagavatam. We finally request those who are actually after Vedic knowledge to try understand the explanation of all Vedic knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. So if we somehow read these two books, then we pretty much understand all the Vedic knowledge. So there is one point I wanted to mention before we go ahead. I don't recollect it. When I recollect it, I'll tell you now. Oh, yeah, now I remember. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam is questioned by the sages. And the sages ask 6 questions. And one of the questions was, there are so many books, and each of the books have so many duties and regulations and rules and sacrifices mentioned. Their question was, please give us the essence. Please give us the essence of all these literature. And so, what is the essence of all literature from the paragraph which we just read? Vedanta Sutra. And Vedanta Sutra is explained by? And if you want to know Vedanta Sutra, then read Srimad Bhagavatam. There we go. And we are going to have a class after this. There is a foolish person by name Srivasa Pandit Das who is going to give the class on the lowest giving the class on the highest. That is the joke. Anyways, that's besides the point. So that is the summary. So essentially, I think the reason we are spending a little bit more time is to know how do we know what we know, which is the epistemology. Not only just what we know, but how do we know it? How do we accept it as truth? Yes? So somebody had a question. Michael, yes.
What's the difference between the Upanishads and Isopanishads?
So it is mentioned that there are depending on whom you ask, 10 or 11 main Upanishads. Yeah. And the other thing is, the word Isopanishad, the literal meaning is Isha, means this Upanishad is about Isha or God, or the Supreme Controller. So, and then we can get deeper into the meaning of the word of Isha and all that, but that's beyond the scope of this class.
So they're not the same.
What are not the same?
Upanishad and Isopanishad, they're not the same.
No, they are the same.
They are the same.
For example,
Okay.
it's like saying Mercedes-Benz is a car.
Uh-huh.
Right? There are many cars, and then Mercedes-Benz is one of them. So there are many Upanishads, and Isopanishad is one of them.
Oh, okay.
So
Isopanishad is one of the Upanishads.
one of the Upanishads. There are
Got it.
108 Upanishads.
It's not like Mercedes-Benz and Mercedes. It's the same.
It's
one.
the same. Yeah, Mercedes.
It is, but it isn't.
Right. Mercedes-Benz is one of the cars. So there are about 108 Upanishads, out of which 10 or 11 are most important. Let me see if I can get at least few of them. There is Isha, Kena, Taitriya, Mundaka, Mandukya, starts with C. Anyways. Shvetashvatara, and then there is one with C. I don't forget. Yeah. So Shvetashvatara, there are, okay. Chandogya, thank you.
So is there a reason we're reading this Upanishad instead of the others?
Is this more important?
No, I think Srila Prabhupada, see the thing is, Srila Prabhupada translated this one Upanishad. He had ideas or he had plans to translate others, but he couldn't. So we are going to read this. The other thing is that Vedas, please, okay, here is another interesting question. Today did we read Vedas, or did we read about Vedas? Okay. So, but is Isopanishad part of Vedas, or is it outside of Vedas? Part of Vedas. Okay. Which Veda is Isopanishad part of? Close. Now anybody, now 25 1 out of 4, so it becomes 2 out of 3 now. Yajur Veda, thank you. Yajur. And yeah, and each Veda is each Veda is divided into is called Shukla and the dark and the white Vedas, and it's part of Shukla Veda. So anyways, let's not even get there. It's beyond the scope of Bhakti Sastri. So you just for know that it's part of Yajur Veda. So shall we go to the invocation quickly? We just have 20 minutes. Okay. Please, everybody, please be kind enough to repeat after me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Translation. The personality of God is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance. Wow. My mind is completely bewildered. So I think because our mind is bewildered, let's read the purport. It's a small purport, we can hopefully complete it. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The complete whole or the supreme absolute truth is the complete personality of Godhead. Realization of the impersonal Brahman or of Paramatma, the Supersoul, is incomplete realization of the absolute complete. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satchidananda Vigraha. Realization of the impersonal Brahman is realization of his Sat feature or his aspect of eternity. And Paramatma realization is the realization of his Sat and Chit features, his aspects of eternity and knowledge. But the realization of personality of Godhead is realization of all transcendental features, Sat, Chit, Ananda, bliss. When one realizes the Supreme Person, he realizes these aspects of the Absolute Truth in their completeness. Vigraha means form. Thus, the complete whole is not formless. If he were formless, or if he were less than his creation in any other way, he could not be called complete. The complete whole must contain everything both within and beyond our experience, otherwise he cannot be complete. So the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is focusing on Purnam. Who is Purnam? And this Purnam is referring to Krishna. And three features of Krishna? Yeah, the three qualities. But what are these three features? Brahman and Bhagavan. What is the complete realization? Bhagavan realization. And if you realize Bhagavan, you also realize Sat, Chit and Ananda. So if you just realize Brahman, it is. And if you realize Paramatma, and then Bhagavan is complete. So here at least Isopanishad directly points to the fact that the Lord or complete whole is complete. Somebody might say that's not true. God is Brahman. What is your argument based on the paragraph which we learned now? How do we logically say or refute this argument? God is not a person. He is Brahman. He is formless. He is infinite. He is light. Well, the answer to that is, if he were formless, complete, and how can we have forms? If everything comes from Krishna. Please understand that everything that we see, we perceive in our existence has to have its source in Krishna. There is no other way. Otherwise, a thing, a phenomena, a matter, a substance, anything within the universe cannot exist without actually Krishna either creating it or Krishna producing it. So when Krishna can produce forms, millions of forms, beautiful forms, I can just see the nature and the different forms, the beauty of it, the whales, the birds, the beasts, the insects, the butterflies. Such beauty coming out from a formless person that cannot or is incapable of taking a form is extremely illogical. Anybody deny? That's what Srila Prabhupada writes. Now, if God doesn't have form, then how can we get forms? So we are greater than God because, I have a form, God doesn't. Doesn't work that way. Second paragraph. The complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immense potencies, all of which are as complete as He is. Thus, this phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation are arranged to produce everything necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of this universe. No other unit in the universe need to make an extraneous effort to try to maintain the universe. The universe functions on its own time scale, which is fixed by the energy of the complete whole. And when that schedule is completed, this temporary manifestation will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete whole. So this complete whole is being talked to here is, which is the complete whole we are talking about?
Personality of God.
The personality of God we talked in the first paragraph, but in this paragraph we talked about the material nature. Because people might say, material nature is being created by God, how is it completely perfect in itself? And Srila Prabhupada says, really, we are not waiting every day for some parcel coming out from some Brahmaloka so that we can survive. In fact, many people do not even know it. But this universe is going on perfectly. Right? So, this is a self-sustaining unit, this material nature. Though it is created by Krishna, but it is completely acting as if it's like an independent arrangement. And everything which is needed for the sustenance of everybody is there. Really, if you think about it, the whales, they consume hundreds of pounds of food every day. And they don't have to go to Harvard or Stanford to get their degree to earn that much amount of food. Hundreds of pounds, trust me. Here, we go to Harvard and Stanford, and me included, and then when you have to eat our lunch, probably there will be a small box sitting at the cube. Yeah. This much box, that's it. Done. And the squirrels, really, they go, they eat stuff. And then the birds, they fly in the sky, the eagles. No, but they are not equipped with GPS monitors. And the insects don't have RFID tags tagged with them. And then the eagles have some sort of receptor. They go and they swoop in. They just go, they swoop in, they eat, and they survive. So Krishna is so perfectly maintaining every individual being that he created on this world. In a way that people think, I am good without God. Who is God that you are talking? I am all set. He can give that complete illusion also. Right? People are so completely like, I'm all set, man. I am good. Really? Okay. Okay. But that's created by Krishna. Because the jiva comes to this world trying to be like God, Krishna gives him that facility of complete illusion. Stay here. So this paragraph, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam, from whom that absolute perfect is complete, and from him all the complete things have come about, and they are also complete in themselves. That's the point. Let's read the third complete. In the third paragraph, all facilities are given to the small complete units, namely the living beings, to enable them to realize the complete whole. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of complete whole. That is the takeaway sentence for today. Please, I'll read it again. Is that okay? Because seriously, when I say this material world is complete, people will say, look at me, you are crazy. There is so much of hunger, so much of injustice, so much of unfair stuff going on in this world. How can it be complete? How can it be perfect? Well, this is the answer. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. The human form of life is a complete manifestation of consciousness of the living being, and it is obtained after evolving through 8,400,000 species of life in the cycle of birth and death. If in this human life of full consciousness the living entity does not realize his completeness in relation to the complete whole, then he loses chance to realize his completeness and is again put into the evolutionary cycle by the law of material nature. So the jivas are also complete. They are in this pure spiritual state, they are also perfect and complete because they are having complete knowledge of Krishna, complete whole. But the incompleteness or the dissatisfaction that we experience in this material world is our incomplete knowledge of Krishna, or who is the complete whole. But the human life, we have that the chance has been given fully. That consciousness has been completely given so that you can realize Krishna. In the animal form of life, it's not given. Then you might say that, God is not creating perfectly. Animals have no chance at all to realize God, whereas human beings have. That's because based on our consciousness, we are given that particular illusory experience. I'll tell you, once Indra was cursed to become a hog. I don't know the story of what the curse was or who cursed him, but this is from Srila Prabhupada's book, so I'm not making it up, I promise you. So he became a hog, and then in the body of hog, he had a hog wife, hog kids, and he was completely happy. Really. And then the demigods, like, they were seeing that, this Indra is now playing, the role of a hog, or he's been cursed by a hog. And all the other, the status reports are kind of getting wagged up every week because there's not work being done. And then, the deadlines are being missed. And all the demigods go approach this hog. And they say, please, you have to come back. You just have to take the post back of Indra. And, there's so much of work, service that you have to do. And then Indra in the form of hog said, no, I am good here. I'm so happy here. So the point here is that even in the animal life also there is complete happiness. Complete again is relative. The jiva wants to experience happiness in the world. Krishna programs them or gives them situation that they feel complete. So even that illusion is also complete. But there is pinprick somewhere. Please, let's give credit to Krishna for giving us those pinpricks. Otherwise we'll never get out. We'll think life is perfectly happy. Bhakti Sastri class is a useless waste of time. That pinpricks that are given by Krishna actually help encourage to move. So even that incompleteness that we find is the complete mercy of Krishna. Otherwise, if he wanted to, he can have just, Yes.
So one interesting thing is stated here is that, like, every human being has been through all the 8.4 million. So that means, like, isn't it? I'm just asking. Is it like really true, or like maybe it's like you could have taken like few forms, not all the 8.4 million forms, right, before becoming a human being, right?
Well, my understanding is it is not a hard and fast rule that every human being will take those many forms. But in general, when you fall to this material world, that is the cycle you go through. Let me give an example. In case of Jay Vijay, who fell down, they never took these forms. 3 births as human beings in the form of demon, they were done. So the idea is, but if you fall, there are special cases, but if you fall down, then Srila Prabhupada writes the first form you get is a human form, and then after that you slide into this evolutionary cycle. You come up, and then again, based on your consciousness, you again come or up or go down.
What is striking, very surprising is that here what is written is that you go through all the 8.4 million, but that's probably is not true. That's what I'm saying.
No, again, my point is one of the 8,400,000 species of life may not be present in every universe at all point of time in every age. In Kali Yuga, the forms may be certain forms, and when you are traversing Kali Yuga, you take certain forms. Because of your animalistic mentality, for example, there may be some creatures which were of the previous age. Example, dinosaurs. You had a dinosaur pet like you have a dog pet today. Probably you will become a dinosaur in the next life, but in this life you are conditioned to seeing a dog, you might become a dog. See what I'm trying to say? It is not like there is it's like a for loop. For 8,400,000 species, you go through. Yeah. Because please understand, in the animal form of life, it is pretty much a sequence. They go through one life after another, and it is there in Bhagavatam. For those who want to read, and it is clearly mentioned. The evolutionary cycle is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 9th or 10th chapters, 11th chapters. Like that, you can go and read. And actually, the jiva does go through different species of life. It could be bird, then the dog. Not necessarily all the species of life. All the species of birds. It could be from bird, from insect to fish to bird. It'll go like that. Based on the earth, you have certain species of insects, certain species of birds, certain species of animals. You go through that cycle. If you are on the earth. If you are in the heavenly planets, there could be different species. But the thing is, you will undergo through those species. And then you get a human form of life. In the human form of life, you get a complete chance to realize yourself. If you don't, then again you fall down. Make sense?
Can I ask you, like, one question which is
Yes.
not like, it's not on the point, but slight digression, But like,
Digressions, okay.
Is
You
it-
can ask, but I won't answer, because at 4 sharp I have to end. Otherwise, Ramanasaka Prabhu will chase me with a
Mine is
stick.
a two-word question. Isn't that what explains the extinction of dinosaurs? I mean, what you just said just now.
Huh.
Isn't that explanation for I asked a lot of people, how do you explain the extinction of dinosaurs about the species? And nobody ever answered that, but I just find a clue to that answer in your explanation. We did not try to answer that question, but your explanation is this hinting at the answer.
Thank you. Okay, 5 more minutes. Otherwise, he's going to come with me with a stool or a stick or whatever be it. Because Ramanasaka Prabhu, please tell me before you do anything so that I can get some protective gear. I don't know. A foolish fellow. Okay. Thank you.
He's the next speaker.
One thing I can guarantee you, that the next speaker won't be angry if I continue a little late. I hope not. All right. Let's quickly go through this purport and then page 15, the 3rd chapter. Because we do not know that there is a complete arrangement in nature for our maintenance, we make efforts to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of sense enjoyment. Because the living entity cannot enjoy the life of the senses without being dovetailed with the complete whole, the misleading life of sense enjoyment is illusion. The hand of a body is complete unit only as long as it is attached to the complete body. When the hand is severed from the body, it may appear like a hand, but it actually has none of the potencies of a hand. Similarly, the living beings, part and parcel of the complete whole, and if they are severed from the complete whole, the illusory representation of completeness cannot fully satisfy them. Wow. The completeness of human life can be realized only when one engages in the service of complete whole. All services in this world, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete until they are dovetailed with the complete whole. When everything is dovetailed with the complete whole, the attached parts and parcels also become complete in themselves. So basically, this first mantra talks about spiritual mathematics. 1 minus 1 is?
0.
Thank you. Yeah, from the spiritual perspective, because Krishna is infinite, you can take infinite things out of him, he'll still be infinite. Yeah, 1 minus 1, instead of saying 1 minus 1, I should have said infinity minus 1. Infinity minus 1 is? Infinity minus infinity is? Infinity. Yeah. Infinity plus infinity is also infinity. So this is spiritual mathematics, because because the Mayavadis say that God doesn't exist. You and I are God. How? They'll give this answer. God has split himself into so many energies, he's no longer existing. Thus, you and I become God. That is the logic they use. It's like they'll say, take a paper, tear it into many, 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 many small pieces. Where is the original paper? So, but the point here, this first verse refutes that argument. Whatever comes out of complete is complete, but complete still remains. Because complete comes out of complete, he doesn't become incomplete. That's the spiritual mathematics. That's the invocation. In the first verse of Isopanishad, this is just a preview for 1 month down the line, is that it talks about Ishavasya midam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena banjita magrida kasya sviddhanam, which means that everything animate or inanimate is controlled by the Lord, and those who actually, and he has set, for everybody he has set their quota, and those who accept that quota, they are, they have to accept that quota, otherwise they are thieves. So that's the theme. And we can see how it nicely goes into nectar of instruction, atyahara, wherein, over endeavor is kind of not, is going to hamper our spiritual life. So today we covered what are Vedas. Okay, go. Thank you. Today we covered what are Vedas, what is Vedanta Sutra, how to receive the knowledge of Vedas, what is the 4 defects of conditioned soul. For some it may be 2. No, we'll get to that point. I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. And also Vedanta Sutra and the importance of Bhagavatam. So the one point I wanted to kind of touch upon is Upanishads, they mainly talk of impersonal Brahman, mainly talk of impersonal aspect. And there are few verses, or 1 or 2 verses here and there, that give the glimpse to the personal aspect of God. So the impersonal aspect is discussed a lot. So that with that introduction, we can end today's class. For those who want to stay for the Sunday feast, we can take about 5-7 minutes break, and then we can reassemble. Then we can discuss a little bit about Bhagavatam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.